Welcome to Red, White, and Blue. From the right, I'm Gary Polland.
And from the near left, I'm David Jones.
Tonight we have the Houston Mayoral runoff show. And the candidates are Annise Parker and Gene Locke. Gene Locke was invited and accepted. He did not come. Annise Parker was invited, accepted, and did come. So welcome.
Yes.
Thank you.
We're glad that we have you.
1 out of 2, pretty good for baseball.
That's true. So we have to ask, because it has gotten a little more nasty, I guess you could say, a little bit more challenging in the last few days of this now, this runoff for mayor. Has something happened that has made it more stressful for the two of you, such that you can't be together? Or are you having joint appearances?
I don't know why Mr. Locke isn't here. I'll just say, though, that a runoff is much more intense than the general election. It's more focused. With a short period of time, you have to raise a lot of money. You have to reach a lot of voters. And you're challenged with differentiating yourself from your opponent. And the gloves do begin to come off. How you handle the intensity of that runoff campaign shows a lot about how you'll handle the job as mayor.
And we have 23 days to go. Why don't you tell everyone, when would early vote start for this runoff?
Early vote starts November 30th and goes through the 8th, and then Election Day is December the 12th.
And we've only seen newspaper accounts and TV news about the race thus far. When do you expect that, if you're going to be having an advertising binge of some sort, that would occur?
Probably after Thanksgiving. Certainly during the early vote period, but might as well save your ammunition until folks are paying attention.
Let's start talking about issues. Now, I am a fiscal conservative. That are the issues that concern me in a city race.
As am I, and we have talked about this before.
Okay. How do you differentiate your fiscal conservative positions with your opponent, Mr. Locke?
Most simply, I have actually been in a position to make the tough decisions that affect people's lives. There are 2.2 million Houstonians, and as a council member and controller, I've had to look at the services that we need to provide, look at the revenue sources. I have voted to slightly increase our taxes. I have voted to cut our taxes. It's a matter of making sure that the money we do receive is well spent, and it is spent on programs and services that we absolutely need, not frivolous things that are the fad of the moment.
Fad being like new sports stadiums, things like that?
There are those who consider the proposed Dynamo Stadium as a fad. The issue for me is the city has already purchased the land. We already have skin in the game, and we are waiting for the county, which apparently was in the original discussions, to put some money forward. At least with the purchase of the land, the city has a hard asset. If the deal goes away, we can remarket that hard asset and move on. I am less excited about the fact that the current mayor has also pledged $10 million of infrastructure improvements, $15.5 million for the land, $10 million of infrastructure improvements around the stadium, and the ask is that the county ponies up $10 million as well, and then the structure itself is paid for by the Dynamo. What I have said publicly is I'd like to see a new stadium there. I think it's good for the city, but we've put the land in. I'll support the commitment the current mayor made to those infrastructure improvements, but if the county doesn't play, we're not going to play.
So that doesn't exactly distinguish you from the Gene Locke, who you have characterized as a deal maker in all of these other stadia opportunities, does it?
David, he has said that we're going to have a Dynamo Stadium, whatever it takes, whether the county participates or not. I don't think that's fair to the taxpayers of Houston, and the reason that I am moving forward with this is that we have a long-standing tradition in the city that you don't unwind a commitment that is made by a current mayor. It would be difficult to do business during transition times if you did that. But in this tough economy, that is a major commitment. And for Gene Locke to say that it's not going to take tax dollars, that is simply untrue. We use tax dollars to buy the land. And a TERS, a tax increment reinvestment zone, is city tax dollars as well. It's simply pooled for a brief period of time, but it comes right out of the taxpayers' pockets.
I bet you wish that you had been upfront and out front in opposing at least one of these previous Stadia deals, so that you could be the credible spokesperson about how this is just, so much taxpayer involvement now?
Well, the vote on the other deals was before I came into public office. As a council member, my responsibility was to make sure that we got the best deal we could going forward.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room that's come out in this race. And I will say this, to your credit, you have not talked about sexual orientation being an issue in this race because it wasn't an issue. In fact, one of the questions I've asked is there a straight or gay way to balance the budget? Is there a straight or gay way to lower taxes? And I can't figure out that there is one or not.
Or fix potholes or to pick up trash.
Exactly. No. So there's no difference. However, that issue has now come forward. Your opponent, Gene Locke, has met with Dr. Stephen Hotze, who is a well-known, staunchly social conservative, who has now made an issue, I guess in association with Gene Locke, about your sexual orientation, which you never mention except in passing. Doesn't define you, as you said. How did this issue come out? Is this a sign of desperation? And is this kind of divisive politics in 2009? You think the voters are still interested in hearing this?
I think the world has changed. I think Mr. Locke badly miscalculated when he had his meetings with Dr. Hotze asking for support. And I think if Dr. Hotze goes forward with what he is and his associates have said is going to be a personal attack on me, I think it's going to fail. Similar efforts by Dave Wilson are going to fail as well. The world has changed, and voters know me. They have a multitude of data points about me, and it's not as if my personal life is news to Houstonians. My life partner has stood beside me on stage 6 times as I've been inaugurated.
6 times that you won, right.
I've been out in public and been interviewed on TV with my kids. It is what it is, but that's not why I'm running for mayor of Houston. I'm not running to be a symbol. I'm not running to be a lightning rod either, for that matter. I am running to be mayor of Houston because I'm the best qualified candidate in this race, and I'm ready to lead the city.
What exactly are they saying is going to happen to our city should you be elected mayor?
I suggest that if Mr. Locke were here, you could ask those questions about why he wanted to meet with them and bring them into the campaign.
But you would agree, though, that's absolutely nothing wrong with Gene Locke or you meeting with anyone, no matter their... I mean, if your preferences are irrelevant, why wouldn't Mr. Hotze's preferences be irrelevant in terms of just getting a vote?
Actually, there's no problem with meeting with anybody, but seeking support from someone who is opposed to what you say you stand for is hypocritical.
Okay, well, the one issue that's out there for social conservatives would be the issue of partner benefits, and that's an issue that the city voted on years ago, and
2001.
Yeah, and the voters said no to partner benefits. So your position on the issue now is what?
I support partner benefits. I supported it as a council member and believe we need it, but this is an issue that would require a referendum vote of the citizens. And I have stated everywhere I've gone during this campaign that I have no plans to tackle that. My focus will be on leading the city of Houston through apparently a series of budget cuts, not launching a nasty and expensive referendum campaign. And
in Gene's position, is there any difference with Gene's position on this with you?
Well, on one of our televised debates, he said that he wanted to move it forward, and I believe he has told a number of organizations that he plans on addressing it quickly after taking office. I don't know.
Yeah. There has been this attack that Anise Parker is somehow weak on crime. Now, I don't know how anybody would measure that, but you can probably tell us whether or not you think that the crime problem in the city of Houston is serious, which many people do, and whether or not there are different strategies than what this administration, the Bill White administration, has applied that you would implement.
The weak on crime attack is coming from the Houston Police Officers Union, and I will point out that organization endorsed me 6 consecutive times for office and named me Council Member of the Year in the year 2000. I also served for 5 years on the Administrative Discipline Committee of the Houston Police Department as a volunteer, which means that I helped vote on every discipline case in the department through those years. I have a long history with the Houston Police Department. I have personally been endorsed by the Fraternal Order of Police, which is the Houston Police Patrolmen's Union, Metro Police Officers Union, and the Mexican American Sheriff's Organization, so 3 different police agencies. I have a written policy statement on public safety. It's been available on my website since August, and it lays out clearly how we can put more officers on the street, how we can tackle what is a serious crime problem. But the bigger problem is that half the Houston Police Department is eligible to retire. We do not have enough officers, and it's going to take us a while to bring new cadets in. So what do we do in the interim? We have a coordinated response strategy where we use the resources of the other law enforcement agencies. That plan is, in my opinion, why 3 disparate and very distinct law enforcement groups from different agencies have chosen to endorse me. No, I am not soft on crime, and that's just a foolish charge.
So you're talking about partnering up with the sheriff?
Partnering up with the sheriff, partnering up with Metro Police, partnering up with the constables. There are dozens of law enforcement agencies. If you need help, you want someone with a badge and a gun to show up. You don't care what agency they represent, what color their uniform is. You just want help. And those police officers, if they need backup, the Houston police officer is fighting with a suspect. That officer doesn't care whether the person that comes to help him is a Metro police officer or a sheriff's deputy. That police officer wants help. If we have a coordinated response strategy, the nearest available officer can respond. It makes us all safer, it saves money, and it effectively puts more police officers out on the street. It's a different question as to why I want a new police chief. There's a whole range of things I think we need to change within the Houston Police Department to make it better, and I have pledged to name a new police chief. My opponent, Mr. Locke, has not, but then my opponent, Mr. Locke, enjoys the support of the current police chief.
Interesting. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the politics of this runoff. The election is December 12th. That's as far as I can count. That leaves only 2 shopping Saturdays before Christmas, so people are going to be focusing on Christmas, not really worried about politics.
And I haven't counted, but it's perhaps 11 or 12 working days till you take office as the new mayor. Not much time for a transition. You better be ready to go.
Okay.
And I am ready to go from the first day in office.
Which is important. Okay, but let's talk about the politics of the runoff.
Okay.
Do you think the turnout's going to be up or down?
I have never seen a runoff election except the Orlando Sanchez-Lee Brown race where it was up slightly, where you have more people in a runoff. And because the election has been pushed so close to Christmas, I think it has to be down.
Okay. Peter Brown endorsed you.
He did.
Roy Morales is staying out, it looks like.
He is.
Okay. So those are obviously the major players who are in the race. How do you get the coalition that was supporting you and supporting Brown back to the polls in December so you win?
I have a deep, strong core of passionate supporters that have voted for me many times, and I believe that they're going to come out to vote whether it's a cold, rainy day in December and there's a low turnout, or it's a beautiful day and there's a high turnout. My core will be there. I am working hard to reach out to the Peter Brown voters because he did receive a significant number of votes. And let me say that not only did Councilmember Brown endorse me, he has become an enthusiastic part of my campaign and is out representing me at various places, and he's been really gracious about the whole thing.
What do you have to offer Roy Morales' voters?
Line up my record and Mr. Locke's record on a range of physical issues. And then consider the fact that Mr. Locke can promise a lot of things, but I actually have a 12-year track record in public office. And as controller, I have focused very aggressively on the city's bottom line. I created the rainy day fund for the city so we'd have the resources to respond to a Hurricane Ike. I went to the voters and asked for complete audit authority within the city of Houston and have used that audit authority to identify millions of dollars in management savings. And I've also put the city's financial system on a stronger footing. We have a new financial system. In fact, one of the issues that surfaced in the campaign was that the annual reports of the city were delayed for a couple of years. Absolutely a true criticism. The reason they were delayed was that we migrated the city's financial an accounting system from a 20-year-old mainframe-based system to a modern SAP system, and it was 3 years of pure hell getting it done. But we did it because we needed to do it, and now it has opened up the possibility of even more, millions more in savings of efficient use of technology.
The accusation that you've made about Gene Locke and his law firm representing various public agencies.
That's not an accusation, that's a fact.
That's
actually.
a fact. Is there, do you have a problem with the job that his law firm did in representing those people, or is it just the fact that he was on the payroll and shouldn't have been?
I have not criticized Mr. Locke's law firm at all. What I have pointed out is that Mr. Locke will have a significant conflict of interest as mayor because his firm does a great deal of public sector work, particularly with entities that the incoming mayor has the authority to appoint board members for. And I also have a serious problem with the fact that Mr. Locke brags on his website about his work negotiating the deals that the Sports Authority did on the construction of those other stadiums. And now we find out that Reliance Stadium, which is wholly owned by Harris County, the city doesn't have a piece of it, but that the taxpayers of Harris County may have to bail that stadium out.
And if he announces right now, which I take it he has, that I'm just going to resign from my law firm and I won't have any conflicts as soon as I'm elected mayor, that's not satisfying to you?
Well, that's a little bit of trust me, I'll take care of it, and I appreciate the fact that he will have to resign from his law firm because Mayor of Houston is not allowed to have outside employment. But I'd like to see him put in writing for the voters of Houston, is he going to separate himself from the pension system, from any future bonus payouts where he has a financial interest. He may not work for the firm, but there are lots of ways for him to benefit from that firm going forward, and he needs to lay out how he is going to sever all of those ties.
And the other thing that you mentioned in one of these...
Now, I've also published my tax returns. Texas Watchdog asked for my tax returns. And actually, I've published the household tax returns. And they have been asking for a couple of weeks now for Mr. Locke's tax returns to be released, and he has declined to do so.
But he has no legal requirement to do that.
There is no legal requirement. This is about open government. You can see whether I have a conflict of interest. You see where I receive my money, where I own property, and where my income is sourced.
Interesting. Okay, the personal Anise Parker. Okay.
Okay.
Let's talk about that. What are the things you like to do when you're not, holding public office and the like? I
am an avid reader, and my favorite thing is to curl up with a good book. But I grow cactus. I grow orchids and cactus, and I love jigsaw puzzles and board games, and I play a lot of those with the kids.
Presumably, you're interested in politics. Do you read anything other than the Houston Chronicle?
I mostly read fiction, frankly. I don't read a lot of nonfiction, although the last book I read is something called Leadership on the Line. A few years ago, I had the privilege of attending an executive program at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government, and one of the professors authored that book. And I went back and revisited it to kind of get reoriented for this campaign.
What elected official that you have met where you walked away and said, wow, that is one impressive person?
There are a lot of them that bring interesting things to the table. I will tell you that meeting Bill Clinton and meeting George W. Bush, I was impressed. Actually, and Obama as well. I've met all three of them. They have immediate personal charisma in a very different way.
And did you vote for any of them?
I will say that I am a Democrat, but I can be impressed with the personal magnetism that they have without necessarily supporting all their policies.
Troubling that she has magnetism with George W. Bush, but
Well, in fact, you were at the airport.
I actually had lunch and sat with
President Bush 41 and Barbara.
With Barbara and the former First Lady Barbara Bush, and had a really lovely conversation with her. She's a delightful woman.
And was she eating pork rinds?
No, that's a funny story because there was a basket of pork rinds on the table because apparently there was an interview where President Bush said he liked pork rinds and salsa, And she just rolled her eyes and said, never tell the media that you like a particular food because they will serve it to you forever.
We have this divisive campaign right now. How is it, if you win, that you bring the city back together? What do you do?
Well, first, I'm going to do my best not to engage with the hate mongers that are considering attacking me in this campaign. I'm going to try to focus on the issues that I have talked about for now in my 10th month of campaigning. Stay in my lane, run my race. And I believe the voters of Houston can sort through whatever negative stuff happens at the end. And as long as when Mr. Locke and I face the voters at public forums and we can conduct ourselves civilly, I think the citizens will respond to that. But again, I'm running because I believe I'm the best candidate and I'm ready to serve the city. I'm not going to have much time to transition and no time to slow down before taking office on January 2nd.
I mean, no vacation for you.
No vacation.
So you're going to take, assuming you win, you're going to take over the city and during troubling economic times. So do you have any ideas that you would like to implement that haven't been done so far as a way to deal with the
budget
crisis?
Shortfall.
We've had an operating deficit in the city for at least the last 5 years. And if you go to the Comptroller's website, you look at my monthly report to council, I have all of them up there. And at least for the last 2 years, I believe I've started everyone with, we have an operating deficit of. We're going to have to cut spending. We are approaching the midpoint of our fiscal year, and we still have a revenue gap to close. If the revenue estimates hold, we'll be fine. I think we have about $20 million maybe that we're going to need to find, and that's doable in our budget. But those are revenue estimates, and so I have a series of management initiatives with $1 million here, $1 million there, centralizing payroll, going to an electronic invoicing system, streamlining some of our strategic purchasing. We can manage to the current revenue shortfall, and if the economy begins to pick up in the next fiscal year, we'll be fine. If the downward trend continues, we're going to have to cut more. This is not an issue of raising taxes, and I have pledged not to do that, certainly not in this economy. This is an issue of finding efficiency so that we can manage to the revenue shortfalls as they occur and not be caught short, because there is no extra money in the savings account. We are required to maintain a 5% reserve. By controller policy, the city maintains a 7.5% reserve, and we are at our 7.5% reserve limit. So the incoming mayor will not have the luxury, as Bill White did, of spending more than the city takes in.
And you won't have the luxury of cutting taxes either, because we have a deficit.
In the middle.
You don't cut taxes unless you want to start laying off people.
I don't believe you cut taxes when you're already in a deficit spending situation. What you do is you cut your spending. We are a service organization. 74% of what we spend is personnel and overhead. In order to provide those services, you have to have people. And you have to have those people in the right positions. And it's certainly not, in my mind, a prudent idea to lay off a bunch of folks in the middle of a recession where we have very high unemployment numbers as it is. So this is an issue of how do we provide the services for fewer dollars and in a more efficient manner. And because I'm coming out of the Comptroller's office, because I've conducted a number of these audits, and there are management initiatives already in place that I'll be able to implement coming in, we're going to close that budget gap. Absolutely. I would like to add something that this may not, I don't know when the show is going to air, but right now we're looking at a water rate increase. Mayor White's not talking about it, but we're looking at a proposed water rate increase of 14%. And in order to cover the system needs of our water and sewer system, currently the mayor has said, well, 14% is too high. I'm going to make it 6.5%. In order to do that, he is cutting a huge hole in our future capital projects budget. So there are some hard choices that are going to have to be made.
That may create problems down the line for the water system.
And it may create problems for the incoming mayor if that proposal is not enough to allow us to meet the needs of the system. Because with the water and sewer system, you have health and safety requirements. People need fresh water.
Yeah, that's water's important, David.
Yeah, and I think I'll have a drink. Anise Parker, it's been great having you here today, and we wish you well. And come back and see us if you get elected mayor. Why don't you?
I always enjoy talking to you guys. I've been on the show with you a bunch of times.
So everybody should remember to vote on December 12th. That's the runoff for mayor and several other council positions. You can view tonight's show again if you'd like on Sunday. You can also see a follow-up discussion by going to Red, White, and Blue at HoustonPBS.org. So check that out. And until next time, get informed and get active.